All right, thanks, Shauna. As Shauna just talked about, stocks rallying on strong economic news out of China. Chinese manufacturing grew unexpectedly in the month of March at the fastest pace, in fact, in 8 months. New factory orders climbed to their highest level in 4 months. This report coming as high-level trade talks between the U.S. and China are set to resume this week. Our next guest says it looks like there may be a trade deal, but he isn't so sure it'll be in the best interest of the U.S. I want to bring on our panel as well. Yahoo Finance's Akiko Fujita and Brian Sozzi, and the aforementioned Gordan Chang, the coming collapse of China author. Gordan, great to be with you as always. So you think even if a deal gets done, not going to be in the U.S. best interest, essentially because you don't think China's going to abide by a deal?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a history of broken deals on the part of the Chinese. So and the question is, what's changed? Well, what's changed has actually gotten worse. Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler, believes in a state economy. And so we've seen over his 6 years, his putting back state enterprises into formal monopolies or duopolies. He's giving them much more in the way of resources. He's strangling the private companies. He's committing WTO, World Trade Organization violations, which have been prejudicing American and other companies. And so the question is, how can we change his vision by agreement? I just think that's folly.
Well, Gordan, a lot of us have followed you for several years and respect your insight into China, but you actually think we need to disengage from China. And I actually was talking with the team this morning that your opinions about how to get China to act in line might seem really aggressive. Wouldn't we hurt our own economy to follow the path you're suggesting? Disengage?
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah, it would hurt the United States. But, you know, right now we're already being hurt, Adam. China steals $300 to $400 billion worth of U.S. intellectual property each year. Some people say a little bit less, some people say more. But the point is, this is a grievous wound because we have an innovation-based economy. And if we can't commercialize our innovation, we don't have a future economy. We don't have a future society. So we've got to do something about this. And all the tactics that we've tried in the past, all these agreements, all this engagement, all the rest of it has completely failed. So we've got to try something new. And what is new is disengagement, because if we disengage, we're giving the Chinese fewer opportunities to steal our intellectual property. And one more thing, Adam. China is using the proceeds of trade to develop its military, which is configuring itself to kill Americans. Chinese flag officers openly talk about killing Americans in gleeful terms. So we should be trading with our friends, not a country that is configuring itself to go to war with us.
Gordan, bringing the conversation back to the trade negotiations right now, it seems so much of this is just about managing expectations. And on that front, you've got President Trump on the one hand sort of bringing this optimism, and then you've got those like Robert Lighthizer who have consistently maintained they want enforcement mechanisms in place. So has the definition of a successful outcome from these negotiations shifted over the last few weeks?
Well, they've been shifting all the time. And the question is going to be, what kind of deal will we have that is enforceable? And that has really been the bone of contention between the United States and China, whether we will keep our tariffs in place after an agreement, and whether the Chinese will do so. So, this is going to be where the trade agreement either succeeds or fails, about whether the Chinese will agree to some enforcement mechanism.
Gordan, Brian Sozzi here. How difficult do you think it is for a company like Apple to be operating in this type of environment? What's your outlook for a company like that over the next 2 years, assuming we do get a trade deal?
Well, if we get a trade deal, Apple will be okay in a sense. But you got to remember, though, that the Chinese government has been trying to undermine Apple's business since at least March of 2013. There are periodic campaigns against Apple, and they've been trying, of course, to help Huawei, the smartphone maker, which is the third largest in the world. So, Apple eventually has a declining future in China. And part of it is because it's just wrongly placed in the market, where you have a lot of cheap products that are almost as good as Apple's, but at a very low cost. So when you have both the market and Beijing working against Apple, the question is, their future is great, but it's probably a future in India, someplace else.
And you mentioned Huawei. We had the chance to speak to an executive from the company last week who essentially put the responsibility for security back on the U.S. government, said the government here is not doing enough when it comes to security on Huawei equipment and devices in the United States. Does that sort of typify the approach we can expect from Chinese companies?
Well, Huawei has been very clear that they've been the subject of prejudicial and discriminatory enforcement by the U.S. government. They're claiming it's a bill of attainder in legislation that have targeted Huawei. And yes, we're not doing enough in terms of security. We should be issuing an emergency order on the part of the president to strip all the Huawei equipment out of our telecommunications backbone. And we should just not be allowing people to use Huawei phones. This is a security risk. And this is not theoretical. You know, for 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, China was illicitly taking information from the headquarters of the African Union by using backdoors in Huawei servers. So we know that China has been using Huawei to spy on others, and certainly they're using it to spy on us.
All right, Gordan, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Author of The Coming Collapse of China, author Gordan Chang.